Phoenix Down Radio is on the air.
Welcome everybody to Phoenix Down Radio, episode number 99. 99. I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around that.
I can't believe we've gone on this long.
Right? But no, it's really cool because in 2 weeks, we will be celebrating episode 100. And hopefully everybody out there can join us here live at twitch.tv/PhoenixDownRadio. We'd love to have you guys around. We may do some really cool things, have some cool people on, and celebrate almost 4 years of this nonsense and shenanigans that we've had going on here. It's been a good time. Speaking of good times, how are you guys doing this week?
Oh man, I did not get to bed until 4. Mostly because I finished off the main scenario quest line somewhere around midnight, and then there was a lot of discussing with people and just coming down from it.
I've been
so good.
Switching between literally playing this or working, and that has been pretty much it all.
Lovely. I just basically finished the MSQ on Sunday, and I know, Seyrr, you just finished it yesterday, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Taliz, you are damn close to finishing.
I'm like a handful of quests away.
And it's one of those things that just grabs you. I mean, I have, like I said, I basically streamed the entirety of the MSQ from early access to when I finished on Sunday, and I want to say I have over 35 hours, maybe even more. Actually, I bet I do have more. I bet it's closer to 50 hours.
That's a really solid JRPG.
Yeah.
Right?
Like just straight.
And you didn't have to do a lot of crazy grinding, and it all felt very smooth. It was wonderful.
I got level locked twice, but I have not been doing roulettes at.
Yeah.
None at all?
Mm-mm.
What about fates?
Nope.
Oh, you've basically just been doing your quests and then whatever little side quests you need to get yourself up?
Quests and side quests that unlock flying. That's it.
Huh.
I did a bit of dungeons in Trust, but that was mostly because I liked the look of the dungeon sets and I wanted to collect them. They really hit on a lot of aesthetics. I like this expansion.
Nice.
As you can see, this lovely set that I'm wearing here, which is based on the Verbertite stuff. Level 73. Seems like an analog to the real world Swiss. I'm not quite an expert on arms and armor, but something about it just screams Switzerland to me. I feel like I should have a pike.
It's definitely interesting. Well, you can always go Dragoon.
But they'd have a slightly different armor set.
I suppose, yeah, that one's locked to the job, isn't it?
Yep. Actually, since I've gotten a fair bit of stuff from the other ones, what does the maiming set look like? Huh. Reasonably similar. Slightly different coloration, different arm piece, but somewhat similar. Cool.
Well, there we go.
On tonight's episode of Seyrr's Fashion Corner.
Right.
Woo! Hey, looking good while we save the world is important.
That's true.
It's true.
Glamour is the true end game. We all know this.
The one that you can start from level, well, I was going to say 1, but like level 15.
Yeah. But anyway, before we get too engrossed in this wonderful game, I do want to throw something out there. We will be doing a cool meetup shortly after episode 100. It'll actually be August 3rd. Come join myself and Yelta from Gather Together on August 3rd at the Uptown Barcade in Uptown Minneapolis. We're starting around 6 p.m. until whenever people decide to go home or the place closes. You can meet up with fellow Final Fantasy XIV fans. We can talk about Shadowbringers, play video games, drink beer and eat pizza, and just have a good time. And what's cool is they're going to have 2-for-1 tokens until 9 p.m. as well as other specials. just give us a jingle on Twitter, or you can email us, podcast@phoenixdownradio.com, if you have any other questions or want to join up with that, because we really would love to get to meet more of our fans out there. So if you're in the Minneapolis area or Minnesota, or you just want to travel on August 3rd, come join us. It's going to be a great time. So looking forward to that in 3 weeks. God, it's only 3 weeks away. Wow. Where is the summer going? Where's the year going?
We're halfway through June.
We're in July.
Halfway through July. Wow. Yeah. Okay. That's it. I don't need any more evidence than that. I guess I'm.
Everyone I know says it just seems like stuff goes at a faster and faster rate, and it's harder and harder to keep up. I don't know if this is like just us getting older, or if the world actually is somehow different right now.
It's the Asians.
Asians. Time travel.
Confirmed.
Sure. We'll go with that.
All right. And there's just a little bit of gaming community news out there. I mean, because most of the news is actually Shadowbringers related. All the reviews are coming out from the sites. I mean, this game is getting like 9s, 9.5s, and 10s from the gaming sites. I mean, it's just amazing.
I have heard multiple people credibly like making serious arguments, not just hype, but like after actually going through all stuff saying, hey, we think this is a reasonable contender for one of the best things for the Final Fantasy franchise ever. Like in terms of just a storyline, the overall presentation, even if you might differ on that, it's up there.
Also, Taliz, if you could also remind us to move around every so often.
Will do.
Because we still can disconnect. The auto log off is still a thing. Anyway, so the one thing that I wanted to touch on before we get into our discussion topic today, spoiler free on Shadowbringers. Square Enix did release their San Diego Comic-Con lineup, and I want to thank Nova Crystals for this information. There isn't much Final Fantasy stuff going on there, since everybody's all in on Shadowbringers right now, and there isn't any new information yet on the remake. But what they've got going on is there will be an Avengers panel with the director and the performance cast, which is supposed to include some public gameplay, which will be kind of nice if you're interested in that. But some Final Fantasy related things that are happening: you can take your picture with Cloud's Hardy Daytona bike from the 7 remake. For those of you who like playing the mobile games, you can play Final Fantasy Brave Exvius on a giant touchscreen. So that'd be kind of
would be super fun, actually.
Right? A big, huge TV basically on its edge, and you're just smashing it. Hopefully not breaking it. Come on, people.
Having people comment on how you should be doing the timings to get your skills to line up properly.
Right. You'll be able to get a 2-sided Final Fantasy VII Remake poster featuring Cloud and Sephiroth, as well as a Brave Exvius hand fan. And there will be a sneak peek at some new Final Fantasy VII Remake Play Arts Kai figures and the Final Fantasy IX Bring Arts figures, for those of you who like collecting all the figurines.
That actually is really interesting.
Yeah.
And a lot of stuff.
Yes. I mean, for those who got the collector's edition for 14 Shadowbringers, they'll notice that those figures that they're shipping with now are absolutely amazing qualities. So if you like collecting that stuff, there's a reason why it goes for, $100 plus. It's really good looking stuff.
Did you guys get the collector's edition of Shadowbringers?
I did.
I got the digital collector's edition.
As did I.
Yeah, I got the Dark Knight statue. Nick Nar did as well. And you can check our Twitter feeds if you want to see what that looked like. I actually did an unboxing the day I got it, so it's really cool. But
that's exciting. I'll have to go back and check that out.
Yeah, that would have been on the Monday stream of last week. So, anything else going on that you guys are aware of in the community or anything like that I was not made aware of? I know there are some things going on in Gacha, but I don't know if Seyrr had a chance to go through any of that yet.
I I did not. I have had my attention consumed with this to the point that my room is actually a little bit of a mess.
You should be ashamed of yourself. Just kidding.
Should, but it aren't.
Right? No, it's all good.
Yeah.
Um,
No, just been because I was going through at a relaxed pace, but I was also exploring, just enjoying a lot of stuff for that. So, yeah, I've been doing dailies and stuff like that, but I know there's a bit going on in the gacha stuff that I just have not been keeping up with.
yeah. I have been basically consumed by Shadowbringers.
Yeah.
Consumed by
Pretty
the
much.
shadow. Wahahaha.
Lucky.
Yeah, I can't get that high to do that. But, oh my god, that music. Anyway, let's go ahead. Yes.
I have convinced some friends of mine who have a very nice shower stall. They let me take a shower after I got in from a jog. That like pretty much play that music, get some forest sounds in there. You could totally turn the place into a spa experience. Is that not like spa experience music?
Oh god damn it. Now I'm never going to look at the Great Wood in the same way again.
You mean
The Greatwood music is so fun, though.
It is.
The Greatwood, Norvant's premier getaway for rest and relaxation?
Oh god damn it, Seyrr. You could totally get a job as a Norvrant like a tour and
guide?
travel kind of person.
I already have half my sightseeing log filled in.
I'm about a third of the way
That's
through.
awesome.
God, I love the sightseeing logs so much.
I have like a quarter of mine just because I see them and I'm like, I want to try to get there. And then I'll get there and actually bother to spin the camera around to try to look at everything.
Right.
To just be like, okay, what cool thing do they want you to see?
Mhm.
And I'll sit up there and let the day transition. I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool.
Wait, the day transitions? You mean it's not just glowing light all the time? Shock.
Spoilers.
Oh.
Anyway, so
Anyways,
let's move on. We're going to jump into our discussion topic here. We're going to start by talking about the zones. Like I said, we are currently in the biggest city in Norvrant, the Crystarium, which is right outside of the Crystal Tower. And like I said, this place is huge. It really is. It's beautifully done. A mixture of green and blue trees. And
Yeah. All of the crystal glass and frames and whatnot, it kind of gives it a little bit of an Art Deco feel. Kind of like Gridania had something similar going. So there's some bit that's reminiscent of that aesthetic.
yeah, it's
which
kind of
is
like
really
a
kind of
glassy Gridania.
yeah.
It's like Gridania had money.
Which that combined
Shots
with like
fired.
all the really well done brickwork makes it feel like it's a little bit more of a modern place. I mean, going to that Art Deco thing kind of brings it into like early 20th century stuff, while still keeping that fantasy feel. So it does feel like somewhere that's a little more advanced, but not in the usual, okay, we're going to go super technological, elegant, and alien to everything type thing. So they got a really different feel out of that, which I appreciated.
It's very well done. It's beautiful to hang out here. The music is really nice here. And there's so many different areas within the Crystarium to explore. Like I said, where we're currently at, this is basically the bar. It's where the you can do your role quests up here. All of the NPCs for that are in this area. And just behind us is actually the inn area, where you can go and you get into your inn room and you have a lot of interesting conversations in there.
Dude, that inn room, I feel like it's bigger than a small house.
I think it is, at least as far as the single floor.
Yeah. Like, that is a really nice space.
It might actually be almost on par with a medium space.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure about that, but it's a good sized space, and it's a really pleasant one.
It's beautifully done. I want to be able to open my window. They can do it in the inn here. Why can't we do it back home or in like our private rooms or something? I know they were talking about it, but
yeah. I mean, that might be something that they decide to start adding now.
the fact that they actually used the inn room for story cutscenes though was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed going in being like, I need to go to my inn room. That means I need to not AFK for the next 3 minutes because something important's going to happen.
Yeah, it means you need to pay attention. Like I said, if it ends with that NPC, yes.
It's a time to, like, you're taking a break from your adventures and you're doing a little of processing of what all just happened.
Or you're just going to get dumped with more information, actually. But
But a lot of it was also processing.
have any of you guys jumped into the crafting yet? Or gathering?
Yes.
I have not. I was just about to start on fishing today.
I've gotten started on the gathering side so I can make sure that my retainers can level up as well. I haven't jumped into crafting yet, but the system they have here for leveling up your crafters and gatherers is actually pretty nice as well.
It's a lot easier than we've had it previously. I know that it's all split up. So like if you have your blacksmith up but not your armor, you can still do stuff on your blacksmith and you can still turn things in, as opposed to just, oh, you want to turn this in as a blacksmith. Well, your blacksmith is at max level, so it's not going to do you any good. But here you can still get benefits for your other lower level classes to get everybody up to 80, depending on what you already have maxed out.
Yeah, they kind of have it as this neat... the crafts are broken based on thematic type stuff. So you have one that's involved with all the metalworking ones, for instance.
Yep.
Metal, consumable, craftable.
And then you're gathering and fishing.
Yep, that sounds right.
Yeah, there's the 5 facets. So far, all I've done is the gathering and the fishing one. I can just now start up the level 73 ones, I believe. I got everything up to 73 now. But, yeah, you get to do those quests every 3-ish levels, it looks like. So, I haven't done anything in Yulemore yet, though. So I need to look into that. Because that also has some areas for crafting. I think it's just crafting,
a little more is the new Ralger's Reach.
Oh, so is that the high level stuff?
Yeah, because there's spoilers. There's a lot of NPCs that you can't talk to until you're max level. So it feels like it's the new Ralger's Reach / Idleshire / Mordo.
I haven't talked to anybody there yet as a crafter or gatherer, so I cannot confirm.
Ralger or Yulemore takes on a bit more of the role of like the Rowena's House of Splendors and collectibles related type stuff.
Yeah, I guess that does make sense because, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff there that is inaccessible. Like the Aetheryte shard is, or the crystal is not accessible until you beat the game.
Basically, yeah.
Basically. And otherwise, I mean, there is an Aethernet that is available there, so you can do a little bit of traveling around, but you can't access Yulemore directly. You have to actually zone into the outside area, Kaluja first, before you can get in there. But once you beat the game, and like I said, there's a story reason behind it, so it does all make sense. But and I thought that was kind of interesting that they did it that way.
I liked it because as a player, like we know, wreck my immersion for a moment here. We know that that's a thing that we should have access to. We don't know why we don't have access to it. Pardon the grammar. And then as we start moving forward, we go, oh, that's why. Okay, how do we change that? Oh, that didn't work well. Progress, storyline, plot happens. It's pretty cool how they played with how we feel about the game as players, ended up being part of the narrative as well.
Yeah, everything has a reason and a time and place, and I thought the introduction of the areas was well timed as well. Because go ahead.
In general, I felt like a lot of the stuff about the storyline was very tightly crafted. One thing that came up in a lot of discussions with friends was some of them noted that if they were just following the MSQ, in Stormblood, they never hit a level gate. Because there were so many intervening quests in each one and all these little side things to do that they would get enough XP from it to level. And with this one, there still was a good bit going on. It still felt like the plot was progressing, but it never felt as much like there was busy work going on.
Yeah.
And so there were times where if you were just following the MSQ, you would hit level gates, where you did need to go do some fates or do some side questing or the like. But it wasn't just filling up the thing to make sure you could get another reward to get a piece of gear reward or something like that. Correct.
And we'll get into another bit I want to talk about. You had kind of touched on there, but I think first, before we do that, let's jump into some of the other areas.
Oh, yes.
We had mentioned Yulemore. It is basically the opulent area where we see the fat cats, like in the trailer, and
Most of them were actually reasonably nice.
yes,
They're doing their best.
What'd you think of this?
They're very sweet eventually.
What'd you think of the beehive?
That was so terrifying, and I'm so happy that it happened.
Anybody get Final Fantasy VII feelings from that?
Yeah, I was wondering if this was going to be a little bit like Shades of Wall Market or things like that.
But I'm assuming that we're gonna get a dancing pole housing item soon. If not, that we need to start up a petition for that. Like, I know a lot of people who want that. I want to put one in our basement too. But yeah, did Ian in chat saying became the prime ERP spot? Do you think it took over the spot for those at the quicksand on Balmung? Anyway,
hang on, let me text Remix and Emmy, and we'll find out.
Or do we still?
I'm
have
sure
to
they're gonna love that question.
Anyway, beautifully decorated area inside the city. Very, very dark and foreboding outside. Very much a shanty town.
Absolutely.
You know, they're utilizing.
Which I thought was cool. Like, it was so cool to not have to be like, oh, look at the pretty cool thing that's built of castles and dreams and magic. And it's like, no, look at the pounded steel and garbage that we have put together into shop.
Yeah. I mean, they're literally using the things that were tossed aside by the residents of Yulemore to get by on a day-to-day basis.
And wreckage from the disaster.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I've used the term repeatedly, but this really felt like this is a world that is on the brink. This is something where people are like on the edge.
And on edge.
Yeah. And just really did this amazing job of presenting this world where everything's gone wrong, where it is a hair's breadth from collapsing into complete and utter disaster.
Yeah. And so let's just jump in and talk about the areas outside of the major cities. That will be Lakeland and Kalusia. So Lakeland is the area just outside of the Crystarium, and it really, really does have a Mordona kind of feel.
Yeah, like this is Mordona if the Agrius had not gone crashing into the center of the lake.
But it is
basic.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, Mordona, it feels like Fort Job was kind of the Mordona center, but instead of having everything go wrong and not have the money or the equipment or the people or the safety, now here it's like, oh yeah, we can continue to grow, we can continue to make stuff, but there's only so much that we can make. It's a really good outside of city.
Yeah, and there's a couple other fort areas outside in that area and what's cool is they actually get utilized through the storyline. So the entire area really feels alive.
Yeah, there were a number of instanced events where we direct operations between various parts of it. We get to hear about how these various fortresses have been used in the 100-year battle against the Sin Eaters.
Or we talk to a certain somebody about going to a certain someplace in another zone.
Yeah. We gotta work on how you communicate vague stuff. That's too vague.
Well, those who know what I'm talking about know what I'm talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about here.
It makes a big bubble.
Ah, okay. Anyways.
Kind of a huge,
I get it. A
Hashtag,
lot of stuff
it's
happened.
kind of a big deal.
Both at the stuff happened early on and late on.
Yeah, I mean, it's a zone that gets utilized quite a bit. Same with Kalusia. Kalusia is actually one of those areas that is level split. You've got the lower area that you have access to basically right away in the game, because you have a choice to where you want to go for the first set of missions. You can either go to Kalusia and meet up with somebody, or you can go to
Yeah.
another area we're going to talk about in a little bit, Arang, and meet up with another person.
They actually did that. Yeah, they had both of those zones were levels split, where it was still kind of similar throughout, but you got to look at a different face of it. You get details filled out. The music changed in those zones, and in fact, there was a lot of music, just like zone music, changing throughout.
Mm-hmm.
So it really gave a different feel. It felt like places that were changing, that were very much alive.
Yeah, it was, like I said, the way that the areas were introduced to us, I thought was done very well. And it wasn't overly crowded with enemies, but when I first got to those areas, I had to be careful about where I ran to.
Mm-hmm.
Because there were some decent sized enemies that would like a level 70 adventure for lunch.
Man, my chocobo has not been out this much in a long time.
Oh, are you as your Choco Bro or?
Yep, as a chocobro, just coming around with me, helping me out.
Oh yeah, I actually brought mine out quite a bit too as I was leveling, especially during fates.
Yeah, they do have a number of mechanics to encourage people to continue to do fates, even after the XP bonus that you get for it.
Yeah, we can talk about that
Yeah.
towards.
We'll get to that. We'll
yeah,
get to that.
Exactly. But the Kalusia area, like I said, it was that. Like I said, definitely reminded me of the Limsa Laminsa, Lanosha area. There we go.
Yeah.
Dude, Kalusia, when I first saw it, I was like, is this 1.0 Limsa with a different color palette?
It kind of did feel that way, didn't it?
Yeah,
It
there
looked
are
so much like that.
there are a lot of areas that are very fairly reminiscent of bits of 1.0, just because, hey, you do have this similar geography that maybe it's taken a little bit of a different path through stuff, but you're starting with the same underlying geography.
Mm-hmm. And then we had that other area we were talking about where you could split off to go to instead of Kalusia. That would be Arang, which definitely is a desert area, much like Thanalan.
Yeah, not just in being a desert, but a lot of stuff with mining operations. People often think of Thanalan as being Ul'dah, the desert reaches to the south, but they forget about stuff like northern Thanalan with the ceruleum drilling, the managing of abandoned mithril mine, lots of various mining concerns throughout Thanalan as well. So that's one that was also really well represented there.
Yep, mining used to be a huge thing in the Arang area. The flood kind of ruined a lot of that, but there are still a few people that make their living on that. Most of it is now done with trade with other areas.
Yep.
But
And it was interesting to see not just Yulmore and the Crystarium, but the remnants of two other major cities, one in Amarang and one in another area. So it was like, that again, I think drove home the whole, like, hey, this is a world that is in bad shape, not just the city having a small number, but being able to see the scope of what had been lost in it.
yeah, let's go ahead and talk about that other area. That would be Ilmeg, which is now the domain of the fairy folk.
Yeah, this would be, normally in our world, it'd be where you'd find Kurthus and a lot of those northern mountain ranges.
But oh my god, is that a beautiful area.
It's one of the most gorgeous in this expansion. The music's super fun. The color palette is super fun.
It's bright
the
as
quests
hell.
are interesting. It's like, where did this come from? Like, why is this in this expansion? And then you realize, because we need that kind of lift and we need that kind of levity inside of a Shadowbringers expansion. We need something bright and colorful and still.
And even then, you've got plenty of ruins. You've got plenty of stuff to show what came before and what's been lost.
Yeah.
Like as I said, I'm wearing this armor style, but you also see a lot of the buildings. You see a lot of that architectural one. As I said, it kind of gives me the feeling of like the various Swiss mountain kingdoms, chalets, all sorts of stuff like that.
Beautifully done, especially the ruined area underwater. I don't think that's a spoiler to say that, but
Yep. I think they showed it in the benchmark. There's like a section of it that has been flooded and that you can swim around and explore a lot of those ruins underwater as well.
Just a well done area. But I would say probably my favorite area would be the Raktika Greatwood. Which
1, 2, 3. Lahi.
Yeah.
That particular the starting couple notes of it has become a meme in and of itself.
I love.
Very nice. But yeah, another piece of excellent music and one that's. I used to talk about 1.0 Black Shroud, how it felt like the forest was kind of closing in on you and also concealed all of these secrets in it. And Raktika, I felt like captured a bit of that.
Oh,
Of a place
absolutely.
that not only is like in some ways a little bit oppressive and dangerous and you do not mess with it, but also that conceals all of these deep hidden things within it.
Oh, I mean, like I said, I really got FF12 vibes out of the Raktika Greatwood.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it is
Seconds it.
beautiful, but it is dangerous. The music really just sucks you in, and it makes your travels through there fun. And like I said, at no point does it really feel like it's a forced area. It's really really well done. You're gonna hear me say that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I was really excited. That was actually the first zone that I got flying in, just because I knew that I was going to want to be in that zone.
Yeah, but I mean, there are a couple of spots in there where it's difficult to fly between. Because this is another zone that's kind of level split, though you get access to it a little bit easier. Actually, not far from when you're introduced to the Great Woods, so it's not all that long, but you are blocked off until you hit certain points within the storyline.
And I'll go ahead and mention, because I think I know how to talk about this. We do know that we were told there would be 6 zones. There is a 6th region. Not only was I impressed with the region itself for reasons that I think anyone who's been in it would find obvious, so I don't want to go into the spoiler stuff of it, but the dedication that they had to making sure that no information was accidentally revealed about it.
Yeah.
If you're looking at the Orchestrion list, it says somewhere in Norvrad. If you're looking at map stuff, so many things are marked with question marks or just concealed entirely. Like entire sections of map got little dots and tracking things added after game events. It is really good about keeping that information from you and not letting you accidentally interface spoiler yourself, which I was really appreciative of that attention to detail there.
Definitely.
I think it's because they blew that a couple of expansions ago. Hold up. Heaven's Word spoilers. Heaven's Word spoilers. Raubon's arm. Like, there was a straight up title and like award or whatever. So you log into your PS4 and it's like, your friend has achieved this title from doing this event. Right. You're like, dude, thanks. Appreciate that. Now I know.
Or the time when the title reward was Papalimo's final witness.
Yeah.
That was
crap
another
like
one.
that. It's like, dude, come on. So now they spend a remarkable amount of time making sure that we don't do that. As a player, that's incredibly nice to be able to really see something. And like you said, not be playing on the interface and spoil part of the narrative.
Yep. So I can't wait till everybody gets a chance to go there to this area. How they represented it was amazing. And the things you find down there are just mind-blowing.
Not just that it was mind-blowing, but it evoked a lot of emotion.
And a lot of questions.
Yeah. But I mean, like...
I have so many questions after this expansion.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got a plenty too. But like, we've had them give us questions and intrigue us with storyline before. They've done that a lot. This one evoked a lot of emotion, a lot of feeling. Like, there was a lot of like sadness and reflectiveness and a lot of like empathy for the difficult situations that some characters were facing.
There was definitely a lot of that at the end bit of the storyline.
And so I think they did they took a tale that in terms of some of its tropes is stuff that we've seen before, but the way they told it, what they conveyed about the characters, about what had happened, about how this had been, how people had reacted to this and thought about it, just the way that they delivered that all, it felt like a little bit of an emotional punch over and over. And I was really impressed with how they managed to marshal that and put that all together.
Yeah, it was the type of punch that was just perfectly needed at that point.
Yeah.
It was
anytime
wonderful.
they can use the writing to really like tune into the fact that we all are intrinsically motivated and we want to see this through. We feel like warriors of light. We want to be part of this story. They're utilizing that to make us more interested and make us continue. That's really impressive.
Ian, you're very close to getting to this area. Just keep pushing through the storyline, all right? You're level 78. It's going to be accessible very soon.
Mm-hmm.
You're right behind us, dude. We got you.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, we don't want to ruin it for anybody. Like I said, that's 2 weeks from now.
Oh, yeah. 2 weeks from now, clubs are off. Buckle up.
We are going spoilers for our 100th, so...
I mean, that's also when they're putting access to Phantasmagoria tomes and stuff like that. So
Exactly. Wait,
I think they also
spoilers?
figured that
Time
4
frame.
weeks is reasonable.
Just kidding.
Klauss,
I
spin your
appreciate that they
camera.
made it 4 weeks this
Thank
time.
you. There we go. All right, so let's talk about those dungeons.
Yes.
Okay, Seyrr, help me if you think some of those names are a little bit spoilery. We'll avoid them.
Let me take a quick look here.
I think the first one should be fine to mention the name Holminster Switch, which is a small village in the Lakeland area.
Yeah. For most of them, I don't think I tend to have a slightly more relaxed attitude about it, but I don't think anything except for the level 79 and onward.
Okay, we'll save those then, but we'll say that.
Knowing of the existence of a place, I don't think necessarily spoils a lot. But so
Okay.
we have Holminster Switch, that village in the Lakeland region.
Yep. The way that they initiated or how they put bosses into that, holy shit.
I have never been terrified in a dungeon, but I came really damn close on this one.
I had a different reaction, and like I said, we'll get more into that when we get into the spoiler cast, but there's one boss where it's like, do I really want to fight this?
I think everyone had that reaction.
Yeah.
Or they felt something about that boss.
Yeah, there was something
And
about...
if you go in with your trusts, you get a really cool experience if you go in with your trust.
Yeah, I'm probably the only person who hasn't used trusts yet.
Oh, I use trusts for almost every single one, sometimes repeatedly, just because partly to collect armor and since I want it for all the jobs, and partly because I wanted to see how they would react to stuff. Trusts interact with each other in various ways. Certain combinations will unlock different conversations, or in a couple cases, different ability sets and moves.
I'll probably end up utilizing them for when I level up tanks and healers.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'll maybe run them once just to see what the storyline like that, and because it's a little easier when you're the person in charge of the dungeon. I'm just kind of a little bit salty from the squadrons and how.
Oh, we all are, dude. Squadron was horrible.
But
I mean, the Squadron was the testing ground for this.
Yep, and we'll
This
get more into
operates a lot
trusts a little bit further down, though. I just wanted to kind of touch on it just a little bit.
Yeah, these operate a lot better.
Yep. Then the next dungeon we end up getting is when we get into the Ilmeg area, and that's Donemeg, and that was a fun little romp.
Mm-hmm.
Froggy. So many froggies.
Ilmeg, we are dealing a lot with the Fae and Fairy folk that moved in after the Kingdom of Verbert fell. And so we have to deal with a lot of Fae trickery in all sorts of different forms.
Yep.
Both overt and sometimes a little bit more subtle.
Yep, but a very well done dungeon, and I thought it was very interesting. I just want to kind of say, without being too spoiler, I don't think if I talk about the last boss, that one mechanic.
Oh no, go for it.
Where-
That mechanic's hilarious.
Where the floor gets split open, and in order to get over there and not wipe, you have to cross basically a tightrope. And that was so cool.
The one thing that I want to throw in for trusts on that is all of your different trust members approach that obstacle
Yeah,
differently.
and that's why I wanted to mention it.
Yeah, the way that they approach that is another one of those things where they're using this mechanic to add a little bit of characterization, to establish a little bit more about how this particular person approaches problems. So that was another one where it was fun to run it repeatedly just to see how each one of them handled that mechanic.
Yeah.
Ian and Nick Nar in the chat are saying, I fell. I had trouble with the mechanic. I've always gotten so close.
Yep.
And I'm like, dude, first person. I know it sounds weird, but it worked.
Oh, I fell the first time, but I was able to get through it the last couple the other times that I ran the dungeon. So, but like I said, it's still I love that they did that in there, and I wish they had done more.
Yeah. Your trust NPCs will also have plenty of little word balloons as they comment on it, and there's a couple of them whose comments I absolutely love for that.
Oh, and thank you,
I'm gonna
Pinybot,
need
for
to do that
reminding
later.
me. If anybody wants to touch in on their their thoughts on Shadowbringers, once we get towards the end of our discussion here, we would love to have you guys say what you think of this expansion so far, and join us in the Discord chat there. Sorry, just wanted to get that out there. But let's go ahead and continue on with the Katana Ravel. Now, this was a very interesting set of ruins in the Raktika Greatwood. I thought it was a kind of... I only ran the dungeon once, to be honest with you, but I did enjoy running it. What about you guys?
I think it is. Oh, this was this one I think I ran once. I had an absolutely garbage healer, so I ran through it a second time with trusts. It's huge. It is a massive, massive dungeon in scope and scale. So being able to kind of look up and say, wow, even as a Lalafell, like I'm tiny all over the place. I'm really tiny in here. Like the actual dungeon itself felt huge, which is a big thing when you're transported to, like, we're not on the first anymore. Like, this is a new place. Now we're in a new space that we're trying to go through in order to achieve a goal. And everything is huge to me. And now we have this dungeon that should be an easy cakewalk, and it's absolutely not. It was designed to look like it was going to be difficult, which was a lot of fun.
It passes through a number of different environments as well. And the transitions never really felt jarring, though, which I appreciated.
Do you remember the burn?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're in white sand that kind of looks like snow, and now we're surrounded by algae crap, and now we're in a cave, and now we're back on the sand again. Oh, also there's an ice dragon. Just like, what? That didn't make any sense and felt super janky. This does not. The Katana Ravel actually flows together really, really.
Yeah.
It was like I said, nice design with different areas in it to give you just slightly different feeling as you're progressing through it. That you know you're getting deeper, you know you're getting closer to the end.
Mm-hmm.
And then I suppose the last one we will talk a little bit about is Malika's Well, which is in the second half of the Alm Orang area. Now this place was creepy.
Yeah, that one is a old well that has become a center for mining operations that we delve into as part of the main scenario. What do I want to say? Because it had this odd mix of like a lot of the like kind of slightly more modern, cleaner areas, the ones that had been used for those mining operations. And then especially in a lot of the later parts, you have it as we're going deeper in becoming more like how do I describe it? Kind of like reclaimed, kind of taking on this creepy foreboding aspect to it.
That sounds about right. Like we started off in spaces where people have been here recently because we still have to mine, and then we keep digging, and it's like, oh, we might not have used this space in a while, and then we get in and go, oh, we definitely haven't used this space in a while.
Yeah, I'm reminded of stuff like Copperbell Mines where they were trying to invoke the like, hey, you have this mining thing, and as you go further and further, it's like, they dug too deep. And so it's, again, taking that idea and kind of putting a little bit of a different spin on it. Definitely got that kind of creepy eldritch feeling towards the end. Especially with the boss that was there being unusually strange and like otherworldly.
Yeah.
Like even compared to the other ones of its type, it was unusually so.
But it was...
I feel like I can say best boss, average dungeon, but I think that was one of the best bosses.
Yeah, I was going to say, I really enjoyed that boss fight.
I've run it several times. The mechanics ended up feeling, after the first couple times, like the mechanics of it felt really, really simple. Like, it definitely had a lot of cool factor, but once the oh wow wears off, it didn't quite grab me as much.
That's fair to say.
I'll let you know after my 10th run where I'm at.
Yeah, I gotta get them clothes.
That's true.
Gotta do the fashion corner.
Yep. And then there are, just so you guys are aware of it, there are 4 other dungeons after this. One at level 79, and then 3 once you hit level 80.
Yeah, you've got your traditional final dungeon and then 2 post-game dungeons.
Which they're all very well done.
Yeah, the standard that they've had for a lot of these expansions has been trial at 3 and trial at 7, and they delayed the trial to the 79 instead of 77, which coming immediately after the dungeon, the level 79 dungeon and trial together themselves felt like they could be an end game, felt like they could be a leading up to a conclusion.
Oh yeah, they definitely could have.
Agree. And you get out of the dungeon and then it's like, okay, you can't turn in the quest that sent you here yet. You now have to do this trial too. It's like, I have to what? Are you serious? Like, I'm going to, but holy crap, that was not an expected turn for how I had to progress.
Yeah. Like, it really just a lot, that part of it, the whole environment that you're in, what you had to do to get there, that in and of itself would have been something worthy for the ending of a game.
Yeah, but they brought it even further, and it was not just a little bit of story. There was at least 5 more hours of story after that.
Yeah, they like upped the stakes a pretty good bit there.
Oh yeah.
I was reminded a little bit of like something like, say, Final Fantasy VI, where you go to Thamasa, you have the stuff with the Esters, you feel like, okay, we've reached this conclusion. And then something a little unexpected happens, and it's like, oh dear, the scope turned out to be more than we thought.
I'm dealing with that in 5. Like, you're like, oh, we're getting to a cool part in the plot, and then it's like, and now you have a character dead and you're on world 3 and you're like, I'm on what? It's like, I've been playing, it's a job-based game. I've been playing for 55 hours. What do you mean I have a third world?
Let's see, we take them and mash them up. And now you can ride around the world on a chocobo.
Oh, Boko-san.
All right. So
I think there actually is someone who will reward you if you can ride around the world on a chocobo. I remember that being one of the random side quests.
All right. And then there were 3 trials available in the game. One we'll talk about, the Dancing Plague. That one was shown off, and that was the fight that was at like E3.
Mm-hmm.
And pits us up against the Pixie King, Titania. And
That
is a great
battle.
fight.
It was so charming.
That music.
Oh, the music's a
music.
banger. It's so fun. I hate going as a solo tank, though. I want to have a second tank so that they know what the hell to do.
Why are you going as a solo tank?
Because I don't have anybody else in my FC that wants to do it.
Oh, I see what you mean. You queue up with a second tank so that way you have somebody to bounce it off of.
Oh, thank God, yes, because my God, the mechanics are brutal if you don't have 2 tanks that know what they're...
I do not want to tank that fight. I definitely do not want to tank the EX version of that fight.
I didn't have a problem with it. It seemed fine.
Just wait till you get to the EX.
My friend Ruby actually messaged me and she said, hey, do you have a character on Aether? And I was like, no, why? She was like, because we're having trouble on EX and I need a tank that is competent. And I was like, wow, really? She's like, how much is it for a level jump? And I'm like, Ruby, I am not buying a level 70 character to bang it up to 80 to come do this stupid trial with you. Figure it out.
That's some desperation there.
But you can do it with us here soon.
Very, very soon.
Yay. But yeah, we won't talk about the other 2 trials because they are very story spoilerish. But like we did say, one of them comes after the level 79 dungeon, like immediately after. And then the last one is the very last bit. And when you get to it, oh my God. that beginning scene of it.
I mean, the entire dungeon leading up to it as well was just. It was a beautifully crafted experience. It was another one that was attempting to evoke a certain feeling, a certain emotion, and oh my god, did it land it?
Yeah,
I saw the
did.
distracted boyfriend meme, and they replaced the two girls with the logos for Shadowbringers and Heavensward. And I'm pretty sure the trials are a huge part of that. Why that meme is.
Or they replace it with a Stormblood and Shadowbringers. Is that the one you mean?
No.
Oh, because
Heavensward.
I suppose some people thought Heavensward was a lot better storyline.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, this was an amazing, just well done and immersive, and like I said, there's a reason why we all binge played it, as much as we could, because we can't stop thinking about the damn thing. It's just that well done. Any other thoughts on the battle content, dungeons and trials?
Equip your gear when you get it. The HQ gear that you get out of the chests is honestly, number by number, potentially better than your melded eye level 390 or 400 stuff. It's absolutely crazy, but those little numbers mean the difference between wiping and success.
I will say,
the battle is that complex now is awesome.
I didn't need to switch out gear until probably, again, halfway through leveling. Probably started swapping out about level 75. And the weapon lasted me all the way until 78 or 79. Something like that. I mean, I could have gotten by with it, but then again, I had all 400 gear melded plus a god bow.
I was dancing around between 390 and 400 stuff, so I was like, oh, I have 418 gear, I'll take it. Like, that's absolutely worth it.
Yeah, when we get to that point, absolutely. But I'm talking like the 403, the 409.
Oh god, no.
The 412.
I think I started at like 409 is where I actually started bothering, because it's like it's the same. But if I add materia to it, it will be better. But I can't add grade 7 materia to it, so why bother?
What about you, Seyrr? When did you start swapping out your gear?
I mean, I fairly early on, mostly because I hadn't done that much.
Okay, I suppose you had a lot of 380, 390 stuff.
Pretty much.
Okay, and that makes sense.
Yep.
So then the question for me,
which I mean was, I'll want to throw in, that was really nice in terms of making it accessible at someone who hadn't necessarily spent as much time going crazy on the end game.
Yep. So what I want to touch on right now before we get into talking about the single player instances, how they handled the gear rewards this time. What did you guys think of those coffers that they gave us instead?
That was 110% in every time. Go back and replace Realm Reborn forward. Holy crap, those are so much.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that, as I said, with tightening up the quest line, having those coffers meant that they didn't have to say, okay, and now we need to have 3 quests in each one of these, because we need one with the 4 weapons for this set, and one with the 4 weapons for this set, and one with the 4 weapons for this one. Like, just being able to give out one coffer instead of needing 4 quests to make sure that you can get the one that you want, and some other spares, which I'm sure people loved selling.
Oh, yeah.
Really let them tighten things up a bit.
I made a fortune selling off that gear. I opened it on my Bard, because then it turned into the aiming gear, and everybody leveling up their Dancer was buying that stuff up.
Look at you playing the smart game.
Well, I was trying to think, do I want to open it up as Bard, or do I want to open it up as a tank? Because, I mean, you're thinking about it, they got 2 new jobs. It's like, I think more people are going to be playing as Dancer, and I think more people are playing Dancer.
I mean, I just was going on the basis of... I was going on the basis of, hey, which job am I getting stuff for in the dungeons versus which ones do I need a little bit of help to get a piece for it.
But yeah, it's been... I thought that was a smart way of doing it. I think they upped the amount of experience we get per quest too, right?
Yes.
So by tightening all that down, it made it much easier to run through.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not feeling
I think-
as locked.
I felt like, first of all, spin your camera, Klaus.
Thank
Secondly,
you.
like I didn't really have a ton of issues. Literally only doing MSQ, flying quests, a couple of side quests when just a city was too cluttered, and I just wanted to clear a couple of things out. I think I did main scenario roulette once, and I'm fine. Like I'm halfway through 79 and don't really have an issue.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
let's now talk about side quests. I just want to jump this in there because the other thing that they changed with Shadowbringers is the fact that all side quests can be started at 70.
Yes.
No matter
some of them may want you to fight things that are going to be a bit difficult at that level.
But I think you can switch to a higher level thing, go back to your lower level, and turn it in at that level. I think.
That is correct. You
Yep.
can do that. Now, what we've been doing up to this point was you grab your level 63 quest that you never bothered to clear. You go beat the crap out of it on your level 70 eye level 400 DPS with your chocobo out. You cleared 30 of them. And then you go grab your monk that you never bothered to level up in Stormblood for whatever reason at 63. And you transform into that and turn in all the quests, and you still get the same amount of EXP.
Mm-hmm.
With the new system, you pick them up at 70, 71, 79, does not matter. You pick them up wherever, and then you switch to your level 77, level 79, level 80 character, smash everything, but everything that you're killing has been scaled up to be as difficult as it needs to be a challenge for a level 80. Then you go back and switch to being like a level 70 samurai that you haven't touched yet, and half your bar is missing. Rip. You can turn that in, but you only get that percentage of EXP based on being a level 70 class. So you can do it with the higher level stuff, and if you turn it in on a higher level, you get more EXP. But it allows you to pick up the side quests, do them as whatever class you have equipped right now, and you still get the right amount of credit when you turn it in.
Yep.
So you're not overinflating your EXP or selling yourself short.
Right.
Or if you end up running
Like
out
if-
of quests in the zone, you can go to another zone and do the quest there.
Like, it takes a lot of the having to futz around and micromanage it out.
Yes. That. But no, it's a very nice, smooth quality of life improvement for leveling up characters.
Have you guys done Heaven on High yet?
I have not.
Nah.
It's very, very different. In the same way that when Heaven's Word first came out, we kind of went back to Realm Reborn content and went, hey, some stuff changed. Now what do we do? When Stormblood came out, we went, hey, a lot changed. Now what do we do? Now we're going backwards into Heaven on High, and we go, okay, well, we didn't always have Protect in here because we didn't always have a healer, but now, like, a lot of our AoE skills are very different. The way that tanks build up, especially as warriors, the way we build up our rage meters, that's super different. The way bards use their skills is super different.
yeah.
So all of a sudden, pulls have to change in Heaven on High. Like, it's really strange and bizarre, but it's a new challenge, and it's made Heaven on High a different experience than we've had prior. So it's a really cool way to, if you have 21 through 30 unlocked, spam the crap out of it. It's a cool way to get a few levels.
And just get used to the way your character plays. A little bit.
A little bit.
I think a Gunbreaker managed to get the floor 100 solo clear.
That sounds right.
I could see that. I wonder if a dancer could do the same.
I think they lacked the self-healing.
I thought they had some healing, but or does
Not
it,
enough.
It relies on another person though, doesn't it?
I mean, you've got Curing Waltz, and even if you don't have a dancing partner, you get one. But part of it is that, hey, your dance partner also throws off a cure, and if you're standing together, it's a double strength cure.
Yeah, I suppose they cut it in their potency in half because of that.
Yeah, it's something where you can either stand together and you have like a much stronger one, or they can be across the battlefield and you're applying AoE cures in two spots at once.
Yes, very nice. Okay, so let's continue on. And the next thing I have on the list is single player instances. Now, there were a few fights that you had to go through with yourself and the NPCs, and with the way the trust system is now, these were improved dramatically. they went so well. They could do so much more with them as well.
Yeah, they made really good use of the role-playing sequences as well. One thing I'll mention is that all of the role quests have at some point have a role-playing sequence where you're reliving an important part of the story. And just a lot of them were really challenging. There's one segment in particular I think a lot of people wiped on or struggled with that ended up being really, really dramatic, which I think was the point of it. But it definitely seemed like something where they were a bit willing to challenge us more on it and have it be more than just a quick, brief moment.
But yeah, I just loved the ability to go through those. I'm hoping they let us play them again.
Well,
sometime.
I mean, we've got the New Game Plus coming.
Yeah.
Whenever New Game Plus works out, I hope we get to do some of this cool stuff again. Because it's like,
I believe that they explicitly said that's the point of New Game Plus. Yes,
I'm super down.
Not just go back and replay everything linearly again.
They said you would be going through the quest. I think you could choose to go. You don't have to go necessarily all the way to the beginning. I think they said you could choose to go to the start of a particular expansion.
I want to do the Warriors of Darkness spinoff story. That would be really nice to do again right now.
Oh yeah.
I'll mention of the various instanced and role-playing content, the one just in Areng preceding the dungeon is the one that really grabbed me.
I'm trying to remember that one. Because the one that I recall was in Lakeland.
Yeah, there was... I will type at you.
Yeah.
I don't want to
type in Nick Nar saying a lot of the solo instances felt like mini dungeons.
Yeah, yes, absolutely they did.
They absolutely. Hey, are you skeptical about trusts? Okay, here's a forced MSQ mini dungeon with your trusts. It's fine, I promise.
Oh yes, that one. I do remember that one. That was very yes, absolutely. Like I said, I was thinking about, because when Nick and I mentioned about the ones that feel like the mini dungeons, the one that in Lakeland is definitely a mini dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, for sure.
And then there was one other one. Trying to remember which one that was. Oh, it was in Kalusia. That was also it was a kind of an escort quest that was really fun to do as well.
The escort quest was interesting because I messed up and had to do it again, and the weather changed. And so I got to do it in 2 different sets of weather, and I got to see the whole environment differently. And the mood of the quest changes a lot when it's raining.
I bet.
Huh.
But no, I thought they did a great job with all of this, and like I said, I salute them for that. Basically, with this and then the trust system, you can play through the majority of the game solo, minus the trials.
I know I have a friend who has social anxiety who always stresses a bit about doing group content, and they were saying that that the trust system allowed them to go through and practice a little bit, and then they felt a little better about going with others because they didn't feel like, oh, I'm going to mess something up and look stupid. I mean, I'd like it if they could work on the anxiety issues as well, but this is a good start.
Yeah,
it's a really good stepping stone to be like, oh gosh, why didn't you know mechanics? Do you not read your tool tips? Grumble, grumble. It's like, no, I've beaten this boss multiple times. I know what's about to happen. So I know what my role is here. It's a really helpful thing. I'm super happy they added it.
Yeah, it was good stuff. So let's jump into the trust, since that's basically where we're at this point. Like I said, I can't speak as to how well they work within the dungeons, but it sounds like you two have had quite a bit of experience on it.
I can tell you so much.
I leave it in your hands.
All right. So they do have, it is something where they have more of some roles than others. In pretty much all cases, there's one person that you can select from to act as your tank. You'll sometimes have 2 people available as healer, and then potentially up to 3 different people who can act as DPS. So you can bring a number of different parties, though at the same time, there are some people who can never be together. For instance, since there's 2 healers, they cannot ever be in a party at the same time. So you don't get to see those 2 interact. They do have some unique interactions, both for particular dungeons and especially between particular people based on relationship. I know in one case, it actually opens up a different set of moves if you have 2 people, certain people combined together, which I thought was a really neat touch. Again, going with, hey, here's some of these story aspects that we're seeing reflected in the actual mechanics of the game. They definitely tend to play it a little bit safe. For instance, the tank will generally just do one set of mobs at a time, and focuses on keeping hate on all of them. All of them, if they are doing mechanics where they're moving around, dodging or stuff like that, they will stop attacking and stop DPSing while they're doing that. So for players that really want to go fast, that really want to push it, it can feel a little uncomfortably slow. It was explicitly said that a typical player party they would expect to take, say, 20 minutes for a dungeon, they would expect a trust to take about 30 minutes. So if you're trying to go for the fast solution, it's definitely not as much your thing. For especially for classes that have long queues, or for people who say just want to go at a little bit more of a relaxed pace or do other things like that, it was nice to have that option.
So the other question I have is, I guess I had to step away for just a quick second. I hope you didn't discuss it, but if you have to, are all the roles pretty well balanced and defined in that? Because I know there are tanks, healers, and DPS within that you can choose from. Are there any of them that are weaker than the others? Like I said, I was kind of alluding to that with the squadrons.
Not especially. As I said, the focus that they have is on particular types of things. Like the tank is focusing a bit more on making sure they keep hate on everything than on optimizing DPS. All of them are focusing a bit on making sure that they do mechanics that will slow or stop their DPS in order to do that. Some of them do seem to have personality types in terms of what they'll focus on, what sorts of routines they'll go through. The fact that all of them know the mechanics and can properly dodge stuff and the like. And even then, occasionally they'll make mistakes on some things. It's not like it's 100% perfect, but
okay.
It did not feel like something where it's like, oh, this one is clearly worse. Oh, I'm so frustrated that I was running as this instead of as something else. I never had any moments like that.
Okay, good. Because like I said, I remember running squadrons, and if I was DPS, it was a nightmare. You wanted to be tank or healer, definitely. But
no, you can run perfectly fine as a DPS in these.
So
I've run both as Bard and as Warrior, and I did not feel like I had significant problems. The worst I would say, as I said, is that sometimes it felt like things were moving a bit slower.
Yeah, if you're used to running it fast, don't expect it to be a something that'll happen. You won't be setting any record times.
No.
And they don't do full pulls, I'm sure, if you have them tanking, correct?
Yeah, they will do one set of mobs at a time.
Which is fine. Especially if you're trying to learn a new class, it's a great way for you to actually learn how everything goes first.
Yeah. And they will, of course, comment on various mechanics, point out various other things. They do know every mechanic from the get-go, so this is another one where if it's your first time on something, or if you're not quite sure how to handle a bit, you can just watch them and see what they're doing, and you'll have a pretty decent idea of what you need to be doing.
Excellent.
And that often gives you a chance to actually observe and realize, oh, hey, we're doing this because of this bit.
All right, and kind of something that'll kind of segue nice into this is, as you're learning about a new job or trying to relearn your existing job, what are your thoughts on the skill changes, guys? Do you think that they did a good job on alleviating some skill bloat, or giving your character, your job, a new life? Do you think they did a good job on this in Shadowbringers? Well, Chille's saying
100%.
boo monk changes, but...
Okay. I've been talking a bit, so Taliz, you want to go first with yours?
I think he's still trying to fix his mic.
Oh, okay. So given that he's been leveling warrior as well, I'll let him talk a little bit about that. I'll talk about bard.
Excuse me?
Oh my gosh.
Well, let's both talk about bard.
Sure. So you definitely played it at a bit of a higher level. You were game rating, so you may have a bit of a different perspective on it from me. I feel a little less like I'm flailing around trying to keep up with all the procs constantly.
Oh, that's been nice. That flow has been very well done. I will say I kind of miss a little bit of the reliance on crit, because it feels like until I hit a nice midpoint with the way my gear is set up, it was either feast or famine. On the way things went with the way it's going now. But once you get a nice rounded set of equipment, because crit is no longer quite as important. It's still very, very, very important, but I mean, it's not like 10
it's only
times.
It's as important for us as it is for other DPS.
Maybe still slightly more, but
right. But now that our song's special effects are activated just as a flat percentage chance instead of something based on crits.
Yeah, and then so when we get those to go off, that's really nice to have that. Initially, I was a little bit torn as to whether I liked our level 80 skill.
I am only at level 74, so I don't have that one yet. I'll let you remark on that.
All right, so we'll go ahead and
So I am seeing that.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I am seeing that it is a little something called Apex Arrow, which consumes our soul voice gauge, and the stronger that our soul voice gauge is, the more powerful it becomes, firing an attack at all enemies in a straight line in front of you.
Yes. So
soul voice appears to accumulate each time our song's special effects tick off.
Correct. So basically, you've got the 3 songs. You have, and I can't remember the names of them. The green one, the purple one, and the orange one.
Ballad, Paean, Minuet.
You know what I mean. I see them as the colors, just because that's how I remember their skills based off
Klauss,
of that.
I'm colorblind. I see only people.
You mean only skills?
Anyways.
Okay, that got a little bit weird. Anyway.
That got super weird.
Welcome back.
Woo!
My mic worked.
But yeah, so it gives life to all of our songs. You know, we don't just go through the 2 of them. We have to add in the 3rd one to cover that little bit of time. You want 100% uptime on your songs now. Otherwise, you are not gaining charge on your soul voice gauge. Because when if you can fire off your soul, that Apex Arrow at 20 charge, but it's going to be a very weak AoE, and it's not really even worth it. Your best bet is to wait for that thing to charge up to 100 and release it right away.
Yeah, I was wondering, like, how quickly does that damage ramp up?
If you know that something's coming up and you need a little bit of extra damage, definitely utilize it if you have to. But I generally try. You'll maximize your damage if you utilize it at 100% as much as possible, and just keep your songs up at all times. Your rotation does change, and you actually do kind of get. It's still somewhat priority based, at least from what I'm seeing. You want to make sure you're firing off any of the procs that come up. You want to keep all of your off global cooldown skills on cooldown, and you want to make sure that like I said, you have a song up at all times, and B, your dots are always being refreshed. And
I did find that when I've been fighting groups of enemies, I found it easier to put dots on all of them and keep up dots on all of them.
I've actually found, for me, I get better overall damage if I'm just keeping the dots on my main target.
Okay.
The fact that bards don't have a nice, easy way to split or just to spread dots like summoners do. I used to dot up multiple enemies because I needed those crits to proc things.
Right.
Now you don't need that nearly as much, so you'll still get a decent amount of procs, especially if you're using Ballad.
Yeah.
I think
so. Let me see. It's a 40% chance every time the dots tick. So if you have it on 2 things, it'd be about a 64% chance per 3 seconds per tick that you'd get a thingy.
So you don't need to spread it to all of them. I mean, if you have the time and want to, But I mean, if you're going through huge packs of enemies, like, I mean, there are times when we're pulling and we've probably got about 12 enemies. Then you may want to sprint to a couple more. That way you'll be keeping your AoE rotation much higher. So you're putting off 2 AoEs per cooldown at that point. So.
Yeah, I did notice, like, for instance, when I'm doing the Wanderer's Minuet, that's the one that gives you your pitch perfect shots. I did notice that it was often refreshing the full faster than I could fire it off.
Yeah, which is very nice. But like I said, when I'm doing the AoEs, I'm definitely using mages. And seeing the DPS just skyrocket when you're fighting so many enemies, it's just beautiful. I mean, my DPS fairy was telling me at one point I was doing 40,000.
I think, like, I definitely feel like people had theorized based on what they're seeing that this gives you a lot more ability to handle AoEs and every job to have a good AoE rotation.
Yeah,
and I was really feeling that.
It's been very nice. So now why don't the two of you talk about Warrior?
Warrior is way, way easier than it was.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I have on my bar, I have Sprint, I have Mark Target 1, and I have Rampart in 2 places. I have every single Warrior skill on a W Cross hotbar. I have it in 32 spaces.
Damn. Yeah,
It's insane.
I'm using the 10 bar line ones, but even then I was able to fit in most of the things, and it feels like the flow is a lot easier.
The flow is easier. It does take a little bit to get used to the fact that MAME is now your step 2 all the time. But once you're used to that, it's not too bad. I will say Mithril Tempest just feels like Steel Tempest, the old like level 12 AoE that we had in like 2.0. It just feels like an upgraded version of that. And then you get 20 on your charge if you use it as a step 2. It's really nice.
Yeah, like having your AoE rotation actually build up your relevant gauges, it makes it feel like a little less of a waste, because I feel like, okay, spam overpower. Okay, I've got hate on everything. Now let's switch to this thing so I can actually start building up my beast.
Yeah,
gauge.
I always thought that was a pain in the butt, having to do it that way when working as Warrior.
The tank stats enmity build it's pretty
noticeable.
Huge.
It's noticeable.
Yeah, I'm not stealing
struggle
hate.
to keep hate.
Yeah, I'm not stealing hate nearly as often.
And you're okay. So as a DPS, especially as a high DPS like a Bard, you're not taking enmity nearly as often, and you don't have diversion on.
Yeah, because
that's how good our tank stances are now.
See, the fact that I lost all of my enmity reduction skills, I have 0 now. So the fact that I don't need them, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
So I will say being able to use Fellcleave and Fellcleave 3 electric, whatever the hell it's called. I haven't gotten it yet, but it looks freaking awesome. Like,
I was using it last night. It was beautiful.
The way they've set it up, like I said 2 weeks ago, like I can hit this thing like 8 or 9 times. It's like 15. Like you get your skill speed up to like 1600, and if you time your skills right, you're hitting a Fellcleave like every 4 button presses is a Fellcleave. It's insane how fast you can charge it now.
Fellcleave.
So then you throw direct hit on there, and then you throw critical on there, and then you just go in and just crush everything. It's been such a blast.
And it's so nice, like popping the Infuriate and knowing you're going to be like, before I had the level 80 skill, I would pop it just to do the Chaos Cyclone. It's like, okay,
because it's that good.
Yeah, it is like a higher damage base, guaranteed critical direct hit. That one was an AoE, so it's like, okay, all the monsters are now firmly lodged on me.
It also makes it, I don't know, did they shorten the cooldown of Provoke? Because it feels like they did, because I'm using it a lot.
I'm not sure. Let me check really fast.
I don't even remember, but I know that I'm actually utilizing Provoke a lot more because I know that I can take on more stuff. There is a skill that warriors get called Nascent Flash, and I think all tanks get something similar to this, if I'm not mistaken. I know Gunbreakers have one, where all the damage you do heals you. Just like we used to have Bloodbath, which went away when it became a DPS skill, and now we have it back, but it's called Nascent Flash. You heal when you hit stuff. It also heals another target. So if you set up a macro, you can actually set it to auto-target your position 2 in your party list. If you have your party list sorted as tanks, healers, DPS, you will always hit your secondary tank. So if you set that macro to hit all of those, you will always hit your secondary tank to heal them, or you can set it to slot 3 or 4 and target one of your healers and heal them. So if you hit your nascent flash and then you hit inner release, and then you start going crazy on decimate, you can full heal a healer from borderline dead. I had a healer drop in Titania, and I targeted the healer, waited to hear the res sound. As soon as I saw the HP bar exist, I hit it, and then I went absolutely crazy on Fell Cleaves and healed the healer faster than they could heal themselves. It was bizarre.
That does sound fun. I did just check. It was reduced by 10 seconds from 40 seconds to 30 seconds.
Nice.
God, that
which is
makes
like a 25% reduction there. So
that makes so much more sense because I'm like, wow, this feels like it's up all the freaking time now.
It also does have the bonus of it's not just that you're at the top of the enemy list, but you get a little bit extra too. So you don't have to worry about that, oh, I provoked, and because I didn't move fast enough, I immediately lost it.
You don't have to be like, okay, we're now tied. I didn't hit you with a relevant skill. Where before we would hit, like, okay, I've hit you with heavy swing and maim. Now I use provoke. Now I use Storm's Eye on you. And it's like, great. That's not going to work though. Like, you got to do that combo again really, really quick or you're going to lose it still.
So then the other question I have for you guys is, how difficult has it been for you to get used to the way your job plays now? Because we, one, lost a number of skills, so those buttons are gone. And then two, they've reworked how a lot of them function, so we have to kind of utilize them in a different way. How has your rotation and your muscle memory adapted so far?
It definitely had some moments. I'm still not quite there. I'm still having a few where I want to hit different buttons.
I, every once in a while, will just be like, I need to activate this. And it's like, nope, apparently I'm activating raw intuition instead. It's just like, that's not what I meant to do. But I haven't changed where, like, my combo didn't really move, but my combo routinely was on circle, triangle, square for Butcher's Block. Well, now I have triangle and square free, but my overpower was on X. So I'm like, okay, do I want to put my second step of overpower nearby? Well, now I have step 1 and 2 on face buttons and step 3 and 4 on arrow buttons, which feels weird, but I didn't move my step 1. I didn't move my step 2, and then my Storm's Eye and Storm's Path didn't end up moving either. So like it actually ended up flowing really well. I moved low blow into my main bar because it refreshes really fast. It's off global cooldown, so why the hell not?
If it works for you. Like I said, a lot of people are really pleased with how this has improved the way they can play on a controller. I still couldn't do it. Not going to lie. I need my keyboard.
Yeah, I just have no idea how to play video games on a keyboard. I've never done it.
Like I said, I did it even with 11. Like I started on PS2, but I had to have the keyboard. And then once it was released on PC, there was no going back.
I'm over here trying to find ways to connect the controller to the computer. I can't. It just does not make sense to me. But I've been playing on a controller for a super long time. And honestly, being a tester at Nintendo, like I spent a lot of controller time. I spent a lot of console time. I did not spend a lot of keyboard time.
I'm kidding.
I mean, do you want to make $1 less than minimum wage and be treated like cattle? I got somebody that can hook you up.
Yeah.
Well, it's
and to be
better
reminded,
now, hasn't it?
To be reminded every time you ask for any kind of worker rights that there's a million people in line waiting to take your job.
It's almost like you've been a game tester, Seyrr.
Woo!
Or any other kind of job that can be filled in by a lot of people.
Well, I mean, it's specifically a lot of people think it would be so awesome to be working in games.
And
the number of people,
I will say, Oh, can we talk about one more warrior thing before we move on?
Sure.
Holmgang.
Oh yeah.
We can move. Oh my god, Holmgang is so powerful.
And you don't even have to be targeting anything.
I am not going to be shocked at all if Holmgang gets patched in like 5.1 because it's really, really.
Well, is it really much different than from the other invuln skills then?
So the thing with Holmgang old school is that you couldn't move.
Yeah.
But now we can move.
But it froze an enemy target though as well.
Right. But so for the Gunbreaker one, you drop to...
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Half the time it wouldn't because it's like, oh, it's a high level thing. You think bind is going to work on that?
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So my big thing was you'd throw it and then you couldn't move. And it's like, well, if an AoE or a double AoE hits you, you're just screwed. Hopefully you don't end up dying because Holmgang doesn't stop everything. But I know for the Gunbreaker invulnerability skill, you drop to 1 HP, you're good for a little while. But if your healer isn't paying attention, it's going to suck. Like, we're back to like old style, almost berserk macro level of like, I have to be annoying so that I don't die. And Dark Knight, same way. It's like, cool, I'm living dead. I need a lot of healing or I'm going to drop enmity when I die and the healer is going to get one shot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have to have all that set up. With Holmgang, I'm still sitting at 100,000 HP and I'm just getting beat on, but I'm not going to die. And it's a really good time to actually throw up Nascent Flash and to throw up Inner Release and then fell cleave your way to victory while being at 1,000 HP on a boss fight and all of a sudden being at 90,000 by the time you're done.
Makes sense. But I mean, I have seen other tanks utilize their invuln skills to go through different mechanics, especially on the raids. Chille has mentioned a couple of them as well. I don't want to get too in depth because I don't want to be spoilery on it. But yeah, I mean, I think they're all pretty well done. But it requires time, maybe a little bit tighter timing for some of the other jobs. It sounds like it's not quite as bad for Warrior, but I don't know if they could handle the exact same mechanic. We'll find out when we get to that point.
We'll find out when somebody, probably not me, has all of the tanks at 80 and we can go, okay, here's the actual differences.
Yeah. Somebody will do that, I'm sure.
Or probably already has.
Okay. Anything else you guys want to go over with the skill changes you've experienced so far?
Read your tooltips. They're all different. Literally, all of them are different.
And one thing I might actually suggest is the Lodestone updated its job guide with not only with all the new tooltips and the skill descriptions, but at the bottom of each one, it has a short description of the general flow of that job. Of which things go together and how they're acting in their combo. Like, it gives you a basic idea of the general flow. And that is a useful thing to look at just because some of them, their general flow has changed a bit. I went ahead and did Dark Knight at 70 for a bit because I was like, okay, I finally want to get another one of these anima weapons done. And it had a bit of a different thing going on. The skills were used in a very different order. There were different buffs to keep up. A lot of stuff were acted differently than it had before, and there was a different general flow. By the time I'd gone through, I was like, oh, the goal is to keep this buff up and to build up these things to unleash these powerful attacks, and this is how I do that. And I learned that by running unsynced Brave Flocks like 20 or 30 times.
Brave Flock's hard.
Hey, I need my glowing anima weapons. That's just a thing.
I guess you do. You have a problem, dude.
Well, the problem is my armature is not yet complete.
Well, we do have one other person who wants to talk about their job changes. Some guy named Chille. Welcome back,
Screw that
Chille.
guy. I mean, hello.
He sounds like a lout. Also, Klauss, spin your camera.
All right, thank you. So, Chille, you said Monk sucks. Well, I've been telling you that for how long now?
Well, Monk doesn't suck. It's just the changes. They suck so much.
So what happened to Monk?
Well, the best part of Monk is our speed, which that's not too bad. They've not screwed that over. But our off-global, one of our abilities, Riddle of Fire, gives us a damage bonus, but slows us down. It does the same as it before. Now, beforehand, you would pop your off-global cooldowns during that period, as you can guess, because, increased damage but slowed down, blah, blah, blah. They've got rid of basically all the monks off-global cooldowns now. You've lost both Steel Peak and Howling Fist. So you've got nothing to pop during that cooldown period. Thanks to the lovely ability of Ant-Man, or whatever you call it, where you don't lose your stacks, you now got even less reason to use Tornado Kick, because what's the point of using an ability that does more damage, a little bit more damage, and drops all your stats completely, which now you've got Grease Lightning 4, takes a while to build up.
Isn't there a skill that gives you all of your stacks right away, though?
No, well, you're thinking of Six-Sided Star, which will reset your timer to max timer. Won't give you stacks, but you'll set the stacks to max. But the issue with that ability is the fact that it resets your entire GCD to 5 seconds.
Ouch.
Yeah.
That's gross. Yeah, it's instant recast 4.82. Weapon skill does not share a recast with other actions upon execution. It will be applied to all other weapon skills and magic actions. Ew, that's rough.
I hope it gets patched for you guys.
Yeah. Monk, it's weird that they've done so many good things, but at the same time, they've sort of ruined the older skills by doing it. So.
Is that all you've been playing with then so far, is Monk?
No, I've got Dancer to 79.
Oh, Jesus. How's Dancer playing for you?
Oh, my God.
Pretty good. I actually got 60 to 70 Dancer in one afternoon.
Wow. How'd you do that?
Table and high.
Okay.
21 to 30, I was running with a friend. 21 to 30 was taking about 9 to 12 minutes per run.
Yeah, you just blast through it. I did a couple runs of that.
Each run will give you half an XP bar.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was about, I think, 3.5 hours to get from 60 to 70.
That's it. That seems broken.
Yeah.
Shit, that's really fast, dude.
I mean, that's faster than, running roulettes.
Well, it was more than that because I think we ended up being about 4.5 hours, but that's because we took about an hour break while we're doing it. So
all right,
actual progress was 3.5, but we took an hour-ish during, half an hour break during the runs.
I'll have to give that a try for... You have to get to 61, though, first.
Yeah, 61.
Yep.
Just do your roulettes and... I hate to say this, but MSQ.
Yeah, do MSQ. It's like a couple million. It's a lot. It's actually worth it. It's super annoying to spend an hour and a half watching anime while the game is on, but, it's not...
Yeah, I've heard that in the 70s, it can give you like 12 million XP.
Yeah, I get
that. Sounds about right.
I usually listen to a podcast.
70 to 79, you'll get about 14 million. 14 to 70 million. So
you'll also get a whole bunch of tomestones.
Yeah, which you can use to then get all your level 70 gear. And then
up gear all of your 70s so that when you decide to start in on them, you've got 400 everything, and it's just really helpful.
Or at least 390.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that... A couple more tomestones buys you the upgrade thingy.
For the weapon.
Exactly.
But then if you want to upgrade all the armor, that requires all of the coins.
That makes me so
are you sure
sad.
about that?
Or did they change
Yeah,
that?
dude.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, you just buy it with times.
Oh, that's right. They add that at the end, don't they?
They did that in Idleshire as well, which is why I bought accessories right away for my Dancer and Gunbreaker. But they changed it so that all of the upgrade materials can be bought with tomestones once they haven't. Yep.
Yeah, it makes me sad when I think, I grinded all that Savage and now I can just buy it for 40 times.
Yeah, that's the hard part. To that end, if anybody wants to go kick the crap out of all of Alexander at level 80, let me know. I'll go with you.
I do need to get through Alex Savage.
I don't mind doing it with you guys sometime.
Sounds good. Anything else that you want to talk about, Chille, regarding your thoughts on Shadowbringers? Since we're kind of at that point right now.
I guess it's probably my favorite. Oh, God damn it. How bad are these people? Sorry. Yeah, it's probably my favorite expansion so far. I was a little disappointed with some of the dungeons, but yeah.
Okay, I know our friend Tim was the one who actually reviewed it for PSU, but I mean, if you were going to
Yeah.
give it a score, what would you have given it?
Same, 9 out of 10.
Very cool.
I like the little blurb at the bottom he put to thank me for all the help.
I thought that
nice of
was
him.
very sweet.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you did help a lot. You got him back
Yeah.
into the game, and then
Yeah.
you helped him run things within Shadowbringers, I'm assuming, right?
And I was answering any questions. Like lore-based questions. Me doing lore.
Oh,
Yay.
God. So that's why everything was wrong in the article. Just kidding. It was a great article. Go out to psu.com and check it out. Tim Noons wrote the review for it. Really nice guy. Go check him out sometime.
Also, this group has wiped Dunsky 4 times now.
Oh, you're running in Dune Sky right now?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
How do you?
They're
All
about
right,
to
sure.
wipe Diablos again. There are 72
so
minutes
sorry,
left.
buddy.
That's how bad.
Only 2 minutes left?
No, they're at 72 minutes right now.
72. I was like, you're not going to finish if there's only 2 minutes left. I know you, like I said, you've been a host for a very long time, but you're taking a break. So, are there any shout outs that you want to throw out there, Chille?
Okay, sweet. I'd like to shout to She Heals I Tank at She Heals I Tank. Shout out to Mushroom Radio Twitch. Go shout out Moogle Go Around Radio. Also go shout out Phoenix Down Radio. Also go shout out Gather Together. And you guys, as always.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us. Hopefully, we'll catch you on the next episode, number 100, right?
I mean, I'm not going to leave. I'm going to stay here. I'm lazy.
Oh, okay. You can stay. If you want to continue on the discussion with us, then yeah, absolutely. If you have things you want to throw in there. So Chille got a little ahead of our discussion since I thought he had to head out, but that's fine. So Taliz and Seyrr, do you have any other thoughts regarding like what you thought of the story overall without spoiling it, and and things like that?
I mean, story's been a blast. I love how we've progressed from area to area. We did have sort of the illusion of choice where it's like, who do you want to go to first, which is fine. But like, it gave us a little bit more drive to kind of pick where we wanted to go and pick what we wanted to do first. But we got through it and we got to see a lot of stuff. We got to meet a lot of new people. We got to meet a lot of new races. We got to have a really good just gaming experience with characters that we know really, really well because we are them and we've been playing them for an ungodly amount of hours. So it's definitely been a really top tier expansion. Of the last 3, easily the best one.
Seyrr?
I agree. Like, I wasn't as thrown by that because I remembered in Heaven's Word there was also the, hey, you're going to go to these 2 areas, and I knew it wasn't like then it wasn't a huge choice, but it was a, hey, you're going to get the lay of the land in both of these things. I've definitely felt like they've just hit it out of the park on every aspect. The pacing, the moments of comedic relief, a lot of the options they have for how we express ourselves, like the various, even a lot of the choices that you can respond to and various scenes. I've been really amused with them. Yeah. There's entire selections of like warrior of douchebaggery conversation options, a couple of which get you some really hilarious results.
I know. I had a blast going through those myself.
Mm-hmm.
I've definitely picked some of those just for the reactions.
Right?
Yeah, there's some of them where I went back and rewatched the scene and saw all the different ones for how it would turn out.
I was a little bit of dick during one part.
You, Chille? Never.
You know the bit with the tools. I'm like, this tool?
Yeah. I did that too.
Yeah, I gave him all the wrong ones first as well. But a lot of the stuff with dropping of various hints of foreshadowing of all those different moments where they pulled the rug out from under us, but in a way that they had been hinting at. So on the one hand, it was surprising. On the other, I'd had an idea that things were maybe not quite what I thought, but I didn't really know the full scope of it or other things that was going on. And they just hit it so well on so many different aspects.
Yeah.
This has been a labor of love in the making.
Yes, like I said, I have to echo both of your guys' sentiments. It really was well written, well scripted. I thought that the exposition of the zones it felt pretty natural for the most part. There was no forced grinding or everything felt smooth. None of the quests felt like they were overly fetch quest style. Yeah, there's a few of them, but I mean, it wasn't terrible like it was in A Realm Reborn or some of the other quest lines that we've had in the past. Everything that they did had purpose, and like I said, by far the best Final Fantasy XIV experience I've had is Shadowbringers. So for me, I would give this easily a 9.5.
Yeah, I don't see any reason not to give it the full 10.
Taliz?
I'm sticking with 9 because there's a couple things that I feel like they could have improved on, and a few things that look really good in Shadowbringers that should go backwards all the way back to Realm Reborn content. And we'll see where it's at 5.1 and 5.2. But I'll give it a solid 9.
Yeah, so it sounds like we're, like I said, in good agreement with a lot of the other reviewers. So, but yeah, this has been amazing. So good stuff. So like we said, in 2 weeks, we are going to be taking the cover off of the story. We're going to be spoiling it for those of you who have not yet experienced it yet. Please go experience it. It's amazing. You can get through it very easily in 2 weeks. So let's go ahead and Taliz, you had a little bit of a prep station segment for us today.
I do. Step 1, spin your cameras, because we are almost AFK'd out.
Woo! Well, granted, we have 15 minutes or 30 minutes before we get kicked, but
Still worth it.
Rory, glad you can at least make it at the end. Well, if you need to check out our explanations, like I said, it's going to be posted up soon, so I know you won't miss that. Hope you're doing well tonight. Anyway, sorry, Taliz, continue.
It's all good. Also, hi, Rory. I found you at a place different than I have found you for the last 2 years. I found you in another place that is between a market board and a summoning bell.
That's very true. Yeah, I saw her earlier in the Crystarium as well. That's kind of funny, but yeah.
Anyway, picking on you because we care.
Exactly.
All right, so on today's episode of the Prep Station, we are actually going into the old reaches of our inventories. We're digging into the Chocobo saddlebags, and we're looking at all of that wonderful, wonderful mats that we have been sitting on forever with the idea of using. And now we are realizing we are absolutely never, ever going to use any of this stuff. So it's time to clear out the inventory and make something out of whatever the hell we find. In doing so, both in-game and out of game, I realized that I was very, very close to coming up with an actual recipe that I wanted to try. So I dug through all of the Eorzean cookbook, and I dug through Gamerscape. Shoutouts to Gamerscape. And I could not actually find this item in there. So either I'm crazy or it's actually not there. We'll find out which. I love street food, as anybody that has ever heard me talk about food will attest. And one of my favorite things to eat when I'm in Japan is okonomiyaki.
Oh my God, that's something I've wanted to try.
So, okonomiyaki has a couple of different styles. Some use noodles, some don't. Some use eggs, some don't. It really just comes down to which style you prefer. I have kind of fallen into the style where you mix all of the stuff into the batter, as opposed to putting in the batter and then topping it with layer after layer after layer of stuff. It's really cool to do that. It's also really, really cool to just have a super full pancake that you can just do in one shot, top with everything else, and call it a day. So we're making okonomiyaki. And if you've never, ever made Japanese cuisine, it's very similar to making any kind of ethnic style cuisine. You find what spices and what cooking methods were available when that area was first starting to get super inhabited. And that's what you end up cooking with, and that's what you end up cooking on. That's why if you look at pretty much any, air quotes, American style food, everything from hamburgers to pot roasts, you can cook just about anything in a cast iron pan, because that's kind of what we had. Japan back in the 1500s was no different, where they discovered that cast iron generated heat super well. You could heat it from the bottom and it would hold that heat. you could remove it from its heat source, usually fire, and it would still retain heat for quite a while. They use that to cook a sort of batter and make kind of a pancake, but not a pancake that you would throw syrup or butter or jam or fruit on. This one is more savory. It's going to end up with things like dried small shrimp or scallops or calamari or green onions or even cheese. Cheese in Japan is a whole can of worms that I'm not going to get into tonight. Pickled red ginger, yakisoba noodles, garlic chives, fish cakes, all kinds of stuff that you mix in with your flour, with your salt, with cold water. Colder water means fewer lumps. Pro tip for anybody making pancakes this weekend. So you make your batter, throw in all of your veg, throw in your cabbage, throw that into your pan on a medium heat with just a little bit of vegetable oil. You're going to get a really nice crust on the bottom of it, and you can flip that, cook the top part. Once you have the first flip done, that's when you can add something like crack an egg on top and then break the yolk and spread the egg over the entire okonomiyaki. Once you have it cooked all the way to the center and you've added as many layers as you want or cooked it through as much as you need to, that's when you start to get to have fun with it. That's when you get to add your seaweed, your mayo, and Japanese mayo if you've never had it. Usually there's a couple different brands. QP is one of the most popular. It's a very weirdly shaped bottle with a red lid. There's a little baby in a loincloth on the front.
That's the only type of mayonnaise that my dad has actually been a little bit okay with. It's so different from the other styles of mayonnaise, I noticed.
So the mayonnaise that a lot of people are used to is made with eggs. It's made with oil, usually vegetable oil. It's just emulsified, and it's 90% fat. But if you're going with a Japanese mayo, it's more tamago, it's more egg-based, and you're going to have a denser, richer flavor that's a lot less fatty. That being said, if you throw it on heat, it's still mayonnaise, it's still going to melt. So if you want to do really weird, cool stuff with grilled cheese, you can. Message me on Discord if you want to know about that. I've done some crazy stuff on grilled cheese. But you top it with the mayonnaise, you top it with a sauce that usually gets used with tonkatsu. So you find that tonkatsu sauce, you find that mayo. You can pick a seaweed based on whatever region you're in. Will determine what type of flavor it has. You'll have a different salt content of the water and a different way it's prepared. So once you've made your okonomiyaki, you can either cut it in slices or just kind of knife and fork it, or what most Japanese do is they'll break it into pieces using chopsticks and then just eat little slivers of it at a time. It's fantastic street food, and I couldn't find it anywhere in Yangsha, so I had to make it. So I made it. The ingredients for it, I unfortunately couldn't just go to a market board and find. Some of them are actually really super hard to get. But there's good ways that you can just make most of it. Katsuobushi, it's the dried bonito flake. You can usually find this even in like mid-tier grocery stores. That one's not too hard. The aonori is a dried green seaweed. If you can't find that, check your local Asian market and see if they have furikake. Furikake is a mixture of multiple kinds of seaweed, usually some seasoning, sometimes sesame seeds. It works. It's different, but it does work.
And it is delicious.
It's super bomb.
Oh, I go through that way too fast.
I have like 4 flavors of it.
Yeah, I bought one of those 8-packs off of Amazon with all different flavors. Anyway, sorry.
All right. So if you want to get Japanese mayo, QP, obviously not sponsored, #non-spawn, but you can make it if you want to. It's a bit of a hassle, but if you're, sometimes you buy your materials and sometimes you make them. Depends on how into it you want to get. I'm going to actually post a link in chat in here in just a second. The okonomiyaki sauce, there's a lot of different brands. They're all a little bit different, but you can pretty much just use katsu sauce and spike it with a couple of the ingredients that it doesn't have. It usually only has like 4 to 5 ingredients. So take whatever you will, use what you want. Again, we're kind of clearing out the storehouse right now. So whatever you have is what you're going to be using. One of the trickiest things to find that we have, the 2 hardest parts. One is called naga-imo. It's like a sweet potato, and it makes the pancake fluffier. It looks like a root. It's a mess. It's really, really hard to get. If you cannot find it, you can actually just use it with yams. Get like a white sweet potato, white yam. Regular russet potatoes kind of work, but you end up with a different product at that point. But you want to try to find nage imo or yama imo. Ask your grocer to see if they can bring it in. A lot of distributors actually do carry this, just most grocery stores don't carry it unless there's a demand for it. So find it if you can. It does make them a lot fluffier and make them taste better. The other one is called tenkasu. Tenkasu is, honestly, this is the most American thing I've ever heard of coming out of Japan. It is literally just the fried batter. It's tempura batter, but it's just batter. No veg, no shrimp, no nothing, just the batter.
So just like fried crispy?
Just fried crispy bits.
Oh my gosh, we made some of those the other day when we were making chicken parm. We just had leftovers, like stuff for the breading for it, so we just mixed it all up and fried it, and it was glorious.
And honestly, the thing I was getting to is, yes, you can just buy this in a bag if you want to, or you can just buy a bag of tempura flour, make tempura batter, heat up your oil, and just drip it in there and let it cook off, and then use a spider or use a slotted spoon, metal, please, and pull all that out of the fat and just let it sit on a paper towel to dry, and then you have your own. It adds a texture and it adds a crunch to it.
It's kind of like what they do here with fish and chips. They'll like drain all the scraps that come off the batter of the fish, and then you can have that separate if you want.
Yep. That's actually that whole thing for, they do it with chicken as well, where they'll actually take some of the liquid, the buttermilk for chicken or the beer batter or whatever for fish, and they'll throw it and they'll kind of drip it across the flour and toss the flour really quickly. And it makes these little tiny 1 centimeter wide little balls of batter that's really light and fluffy. When you actually bread your fish, bread your chicken, whatever, those little bits are going to stick to it. So when you fry it, as you're biting through it, you get these big airy pockets of texture and crunch. So that's actually, those accidents actually turn into part of the dish.
Delicious crunch.
Yes.
So today's recipe is brought to us by Nami from Just One Cookbook. I got her permission to use her recipe. It's a lot of fun. It's one of the more quintessential Japanese recipes. So if you guys are more well-versed in the cookbook on Eorzea than I am, find it and link it to me, because I could not find it. So I just said, screw it, I'm doing it anyway.
Isn't okonomiyaki one of those things where you can utilize a lot of leftovers as well?
It is. It's very much the leftovers dish. It's the last quarter of the cabbage. It's the last inch and a half of yagi imo. We only have one piece of unagi left. You put all that kind of stuff in.
The name literally means cook what you like, so it's kind of like just throw it in dish.
Which realistically most street food is. We come up with these things, like you talk to, true Italian chefs, and they're like, these ingredients only cook this way. You look at Marco Pierre White recipes, and they're very, very strict, and you're like, wow, my God, how did you come up with this stuff? And then you talk to the old school families. You talk to the big families where the matriarchs are the ones that have been cooking for 200 years and recipes came from great, great, great grandma kind of stuff. There is no recipe. Nothing is measured. The ingredients are whatever is in the fridge. And it's insanely cool to see the difference between top tier cooking and at home cooking and have them come out at very similar qualities. It's really fun.
All right. Now I want okonomiyaki. You're making it, right?
I actually did. It was delicious.
Did you send some our way?
I mean, it's going to get weird in the mail, but sure.
Yeah, I can't imagine that holds up well.
No.
Chille, I'm going to mail some to you. It's probably going to get called by custom stuff.
Yeah, so you won't see it, unfortunately. You might get an empty container.
A soggy empty box.
It was good. Customs.
God damn it.
All right. Well, then we're going to go ahead and call it an episode then. So that's going to do it for this episode, guys. If you liked what you heard, please make sure to like, subscribe, or follow us on Apple Podcasts, Google, or even Spotify. or whatever your preferred podcatcher is. Just make sure, if possible, leave us a rating or review. It allows people to find us out there and lets us know how you think we're doing, because we love to hear, any feedback, whether there's issues or questions or anything like that. If you really dig the show, you can consider subscribing here at Twitch, at twitch.tv/PhoenixDownRadio. Or if you want to support us on Patreon at patreon.com/PhoenixDownRadio, like our amazing friend Rory Fenrir. Any of those funds that we get go to grow the show, allow us to do some really fun things, and help to cover some of the behind-the-scenes stuff. The stuff that costs money to keep going. We do this because we love it, but unfortunately it's not free. So any support that we get from you guys is definitely helpful. If you want to find all of our backlog of episodes, you can go to our website, phoenixdownradio.com. And if you have questions, suggestions for a lore segment, or an Eorzean food that you would like to see Taliz tackle, you can email us, podcast@phoenixdownradio.com, or you can check out the Facebook group that we have out there at facebook.com/phoenixdownradio. So now it's time for the shout-outs. Seyrr, do you want to start this one?
Sure. So I'll go ahead and shout out to my friends Spender and Tristan, who both did a lot of the dungeons with me after I'd done my first run with the Trust. Talked about plot stuff and in general helped build up my excitement and hype while still remaining remarkably patient at my wanting to take a slightly slower pace through. It was lots of fun to talk about the plot with you. I'm looking forward to talking more about that. Also, shout out to my friends Andy and Austin, who just had their housewarming party today. You guys are never going to hear this, but your home is lovely. I always like hanging out with you, and I'm looking forward to cooking with you again next week. No thanks to the FF14 development team, because my room is kind of a pit right now because I haven't even managed to focus on basic cleaning for like a week. Are you guys trying to wreck my life? Do you know I stayed up until 4 a.m. last night?
That means he
Why
loves
do you
you
do this
all.
to me? I love you, but in a way where I hate you. It's like a tsundere type thing.
And how can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at FFXIVSEYRR, where I will mostly post about random fun stuff I found working at the library or things that I cooked with my friends. And if you sometimes people will send me lore suggestions through that. And I'm always happy to do topics that people are interested in. You can also submit those on our Discord server, which I think you gave them the info for, didn't you, Klauss?
Yep, it gets popped into the chat every so often. We can always do it again.
Yeah, I do monitor the library there and various other channels. So if you ever have questions, absolutely put them in there. I will get back to you as quickly as I can. And if it's something that's a complicated one, I'm happy to make it into a lore segment on the show.
Excellent. Unfortunately, Taliz had to sneak off for a quick moment. He said he didn't have any shout-outs, but I do want to make sure that if people want to get a hold of him, they can find him on Twitter at TalizMarvelous, TalizMarvelous. Like I said, he does some amazing things with food. He has one hell of a lifestyle that I just love watching his Facebook and his Twitter posts about the different things he gets to do. So he's a crazy guy, and I love having him on the show. Also, I wish he was here to hear this, but thank you so much for accepting the position to join us as a full-time host of Phoenix Down Radio. It's amazing to have you here joining us in that way, and we look forward to hearing more from you in the future. As for me, I, of course, want to shout out my wonderful co-hosts, Taliz and Seyrr, for putting up with all of this stuff. They had such the hard job of playing Shadowbringers the last 2 weeks, and I don't know how they did it. So thank you so much for all your hard work.
Truly, 'twas a sacrifice.
I loved hearing what you guys had to add on to our discussion with this. Doing the show with you guys, it makes it so much more enjoyable. Shout out to Chille. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. You're always a fun person to watch. And thank you.
No problem.
Shout out to everybody out in the community. Want to throw a special shout out to Yalta, for agreeing to do the get together with us on August 3rd. again, at Updown Barcade in Uptown Minneapolis. Make sure to let us know if you want to join us there for some beer and pizza and video games. So yeah, and if you want to get a hold of me, you can hit me up on Twitter at PHXDN_KLAUSS. That's PHXDN_Klauss. So for wonderful guest that snuck in there, Chille, I invited him here, by the way. And for our co-hosts, Seyrr and Taliz, I am Klauss Nightbringer, wishing everybody a wonderful evening. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you on 100. Take care.
Phoenix Down Radio is a production of PhoenixDownRadio.com and Illusion Productions. Final Fantasy XIV and Eorzea are trademarks of Square Enix. In-game content for Phoenix Down Radio is the copyright of Square Enix. Opening music for Phoenix Down Radio is provided by Guilty Gear Rock You. Check out the Metal Chocobo theme cover and many other music videos at youtube.com/GuiltyGearRockYou. Closing music for this episode is provided by GuitarWanker90. Please check out their full version of Matoya's Cave and other rock video game covers at youtube.com/GuitarWanker90. The views and opinions expressed in this episode are those of Phoenix Down Radio and its hosts and do not reflect the views of Square Enix.